The winter of 1035 was cruel, and the winds howled through the narrow streets of the English kingdom. In the great hall of the royal palace, the air was thick with tension. King Cnut, the mighty ruler who had brought peace to England and Denmark, lay on his deathbed. As his breath grew shallow, the kingdom watched in dread, for the struggle for power was about to begin. Cnut's illegitimate son, Harold Harefoot, was a man of quick wit and sharp ambition. He saw the throne as his birthright, despite being born out of wedlock. On the other hand, Emma, the queen who had been Cnut's wife, had a son of her own, Harthacnut, who she believed was the rightful heir. The rivalry between these two sons would soon turn the court into a battlefield of intrigue and bloodshed. The first blow came swiftly. Harold, with the support of his powerful allies, seized control of the kingdom. Emma, who had once been a queen of great influence, found herself powerless and vulnerable. Her son Alfred was captured by Harold's men. The young prince suffered horribly. His eyes were brutally gouged out on a ship, and he was left to die a painful death. The archbishop, who had sworn to protect Cnut's sons, refused to crown Harold, saying, "Cnut committed them to my faith, and I owe this faith to them." But Harold's power was not unchallenged. Emma, driven from the kingdom with no mercy, faced the harsh winter in exile. She fled to Flanders, a land far from England, where she plotted her return. Her heart was heavy with the loss of her son, but her spirit remained unbroken. She waited for the right moment to strike back. In 1040, Harold's reign came to an abrupt end. He died suddenly, and the path to the throne was open once more. Emma and her son, Harthacnut, returned to England with a vengeance. Harthacnut, now the king, named his half-brother Edward as his successor. Edward, the son of Emma's first marriage to Ethelred, had been in exile in Normandy for years, but now he was called back to the kingdom. Emma's return to court was not without its challenges. Her own son, Edward, who had been slighted by her support for Harthacnut, seized her lands in anger. He had not forgotten the pain of being overlooked in favor of his half-brother. Emma, now an older woman, was forced to defend herself against her own son's resentment. It took until 1044 for Edward to allow her to return to court, but the damage to their relationship had been done. Despite the turmoil, Emma remained a woman of great influence. She had commissioned a biography of her life, the Encomium Emmy to tell her side of the story. This work, though a form of propaganda, helped shape her legacy. She was known for her generosity, donating beautifully crafted textiles, books, and even relics to churches. Her patronage solidified her reputation and left a lasting mark on the kingdom. In her final years, Emma retired to a nunnery in Winchester, a city rich in history and tradition. There she spent her days in quiet reflection, surrounded by the memories of her turbulent life. When she died, she was buried next to Cnut, the king she had once loved and who had brought her to the heights of power. The legacy of Emma of Normandy did not end with her death. She had united Anglo-Saxon, Anglo-Dane, and Anglo-Norman cultures, and her influence could be seen in the rich tapestry of the English language. The words she brought from her Norman homeland enriched the vocabulary of Old English, creating a language that would evolve into the English we speak today. But Emma's story was not the only one of powerful women in this era. Ethelfled, the Lady of the Mercians, and St. Margaret of Scotland, among others, also left their marks on history. Their stories, filled with courage, ambition, and resilience, continue to inspire and remind us of the strength of women in the face of adversity. Christina of Markyate, a young girl living in the 12th century, faced incredible challenges from a very young age. Born to Anglo-Saxon parents, Audie and Beatrix, in the town of Huntington near Cambridge, Christina's life was anything but ordinary. Her parents, like many of the time, were more concerned with their social status and wealth than with their daughter's happiness. Christina, originally named Theodora, which means gift of God, was a devout and pious child. As a young girl, she would talk to God as if he were a friend, but this drew ridicule from others, so she stopped. Despite the teasing, Christina remained strong in her faith. Her first supporter was a monk named Suno, who taught her about the challenges of remaining a virgin. When others insulted Suno, Christina bravely defended him, showing her courage even at a young age. When Christina was a teenager, she made a pilgrimage to the monastery of St. Alban, a place where many children went to seek God's guidance or healing. Moved by the experience, Christina carved a cross on the door with her fingernail and vowed to remain a virgin. However, her path to this goal was not easy. The devil had other plans for Christina. Her aunt, Aelfjafu, was the concubine of the Bishop of Durham, Ranulf. Despite having children with Aelfjafu, Ranulf was captivated by Christina's beauty. He invited her to his chamber, but she outsmarted him by locking the door and escaping. This event marked the beginning of a series of trials for Christina. Ranulf, angry and embarrassed, arranged for a young man named Beorhted to become Christina's betrothed. Her parents, seeing this as an opportunity to secure a good marriage, pressured Christina to agree. They tried everything to change her mind: gifts, threats, and even locking her up with frivolous company. Christina, however, remained steadfast. "I wish to remain chaste, for so I have vowed." The pressure continued. Her parents even tried to make her drunk at a party to weaken her resolve. They allowed Beorhted into her bedroom, but Christina treated him like a brother. To comfort him, she told the story of Saint Cecilia, a 3rd-century martyr who remained chaste and dedicated her life to God. Despite Beorhted's initial understanding, he, later mocked by his friends, returned to find Christina. She hid behind her bed curtains, clinging to a nail, and managed to avoid him. The situation worsened when her father, Adi, pressured church officials to force Christina to marry. The church, however, opposed forced marriages, and a penitential guidebook from the time stated that a girl of 17 had the right to choose her own path. Despite this, Christina's parents persisted. In a fit of rage, they stripped her of all her clothes except her undershirt and almost sent her out of the house. Christina's mother, Beatrix, even resorted to hiring old women to use love potions and charms to try to change Christina's mind. These attempts failed, and Beatrix resorted to physical abuse, leaving scars on Christina's back that never faded. Only a vision of the Virgin Mary gave Christina the hope she needed to continue. Despite the constant pressure and abuse, Christina remained resolute. She knew that her path, though difficult, was the right one. Her story is a testament to the strength of faith and the courage to stand up for what one believes in, even in the face of great adversity. Christina of Markyate was a young woman who lived in England during the 12th century. Her life began in a small village, but her story soon became one of courage, faith, and determination. Christina's parents had arranged a marriage for her, but she did not want to marry. Instead, she wanted to dedicate her life to God. To escape her family's plans, Christina made a daring plan with the help of a wise hermit. She hid a set of men's clothes in her cloak and pretended to visit a monastery. Once she was away from her family, she mounted a horse and fled, even though she felt embarrassed and scared. She rode to a safe place where a holy woman named Aelfwen lived. Christina stayed in Aelfwen's tiny cell for 2 years, hiding from her parents who searched for her. Life in the cell was hard, but Christina found strength in her faith. She read holy books and prayed. The devil tried to scare her with ugly toads that stared at her, but she remained brave, singing holy songs. The toads eventually left her alone. After 2 years, Christina moved to a new hiding place with an old hermit named Roger. She stayed in his small, dark closet for 4 years. The space was so small that she could barely breathe, and she could only leave at night to use the toilet. Despite the tough conditions, Christina endured, believing that her suffering would bring her closer to God. During this time, Christina's fiancé, Beorhted, had a vision of the Virgin Mary. Inspired by this, he released Christina from her marriage vows. Free from her vows, Christina's reputation as a holy woman grew. She had visions and performed miracles, like curing a woman with epilepsy. Her fame attracted attention, and many men wanted her to join their religious communities. However, Christina chose to stay at Markyate, where Roger was buried. She took vows and became the leader of a group of religious women. Christina's influence spread, and even the Abbot Geoffrey of St. Albans became her close friend. He supported her and her community, while she helped him in his spiritual journey. Her dedication was recognized when angels placed a crown from Christ on her head, in a vision. Christina's life was an inspiration to many, and even after her death, the women at Markyate continued to follow her example. They resisted a papal decree that ordered nuns to be strictly enclosed, showing the same spirit of independence and faith that Christina had shown. Christina's story is a testament to her strong will and deep faith. She faced many challenges, but she never gave up on her dreams. Her legacy lives on through the religious books she owned and the community she built. Even today, we can learn from her courage and devotion. Margaret of Beverley was a remarkable woman who faced incredible challenges and showed great courage throughout her life. Born in Jerusalem to English parents, Sibylla and Hulno, who had undertaken a grueling pilgrimage, Margaret's early years were filled with adventure and danger. Her parents, devout and determined, had traveled the long distance from England to the Holy Land, where Margaret was born. When Margaret was a baby, her family faced a terrifying encounter with a wolf. Her father, resourceful and quick-thinking, used a tree branch to fend off the beast, ensuring their safety. They eventually returned to England, where Margaret, now 11 years older than her brother Thomas, took on the responsibility of raising him. Her dedication paid off, as Thomas grew up to become a member of the entourage of the Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas Becket, who later became a saint. With Thomas's future secure, Margaret decided to return to the land of her birth. Unfortunately, her return in 1187 coincided with a critical moment in history. The great Muslim leader, Saladin, was determined to reclaim Jerusalem from Christian control. The city, which had been a center of devotion for Christians, Muslims, and Jews, was soon under siege. Margaret found herself in the midst of the chaos. The city was overcrowded with refugees from other defeated cities, and the siege began on September 18, 1187. For 15 days, the city was surrounded by Saladin's troops, who blocked all food and water supplies and attacked with weapons. Everyone, including Margaret, had to participate in the city's defense. Margaret, like many women, took on the role of a soldier. She wore a breastplate and a cauldron on her head as a makeshift helmet. Despite her fear, she concealed her weakness and worked tirelessly to protect the city. She used her ingenuity, turning a symbol of domestic life into a tool of defense. One day, while providing water to the men, a millstone was catapulted over the walls. A small piece struck Margaret, causing her to bleed. She was quickly tended to, but the scar remained with her for the rest of her life. On October 2, 1187, the siege ended. Saladin's forces won, and the city was taken. Saladin, known for his chivalry, allowed Christians to continue pilgrimages and access the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Margaret, having been taken prisoner, was eventually ransomed and set free. Saladin's victory led to the Third Crusade, as leaders from Europe, including Richard I of England, son of Eleanor of Aquitaine, organized armies to reclaim Jerusalem. Margaret's experiences during the siege and her resilience in the face of danger were part of this larger historical context. Margaret's life was a testament to the strength and resourcefulness of women in medieval times. Her story, recorded by her brother Thomas, remains a powerful example of how one person can face and overcome incredible challenges. As we journey through the lives of medieval women, from crusaders to scholars, we encounter a world rich with complexity and contradiction. Women like Margaret of Beverley and Anna Komnene show us that even in an era dominated by men, women found ways to assert their identities, their faith, and their intellect. Margaret of Beverley's story is one of extraordinary resilience. From the battlefields of the Holy Land to the harsh conditions of slavery, Margaret never lost her faith or her determination. Her journey from a captive to a pilgrim, and finally to a nun, is a testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome immense challenges. Her brother, Thomas, recognized her strength and recorded her life, ensuring that her remarkable story would be remembered. Anna Komnene, on the other hand, was a woman of great intellect and ambition. Born into the Byzantine imperial family, she received an education that was rare for women of her time. Her deep knowledge of Greek philosophy, history, and literature allowed her to write the Alexiad, a detailed account of her father's reign. Despite her failed attempt to claim the throne, Anna's legacy lives on through her writings, which provide valuable insights into the First Crusade and the Byzantine Empire. These stories also reveal the complex interactions between Christians and Muslims during the Crusades. While there were instances of love and cooperation, such as the marriage of Constance and the Sultan of Syria, the overall relationship was marked by conflict and misunderstanding. The Crusades were a time of great violence, but they also brought different cultures into contact, sometimes leading to unexpected friendships and alliances. The lives of medieval women of color, like the Queen of Sheba and Sayyidah Hura, show that people of diverse backgrounds were known and respected in medieval Europe. Their stories challenge the notion that medieval Europe was a monolithic, homogeneous society. Women of all races and backgrounds contributed to the rich tapestry of medieval life, whether through their leadership, their art, or their daily labors. Understanding the female body in the Middle Ages is crucial to grasping the broader context in which these women lived. While ancient Greek and Roman medical traditions often denigrated women, viewing them as inferior to men, many women defied these limitations. They found ways to assert their worth and contribute to their communities, whether through military service, scholarship, or acts of charity. In the end, the stories of these women remind us that history is not just a series of dates and battles. It is a tapestry woven from the lives of real people, each with their own struggles, triumphs, and dreams. By remembering and honoring these women, we gain a deeper appreciation for the complexity and richness of the medieval world. Their legacies continue to inspire and challenge us, reminding us that even in the most difficult of times, the human spirit can shine through.